I'm Emma.
And I'm Ellie.
And together we are E Squared.
Welcome back to another episode of Campus Chronicles.
The show brought to you by students for students.
And what are we doing today, Emma?
Today we are going to be talking about some frequently asked questions of upcoming college freshmen, I guess. So basically we went and did some research and just looked up what are questions that freshmen frequently have, and we looked through them and found out the ones that we personally have an answer to. And we also talked to some of our friends who have just graduated high school, and we're going to be answering these questions. And our hope is that in our amateur advice, that we can squash some anxieties and just help make the transition from high school to college a little bit easier.
Yeah, so for first-time students especially, some of these questions can be a little daunting, and they sort of, weigh on your mind a little bit, but it's really not as bad as it seems, so hopefully we can ease some of those anxieties today.
Yeah.
So, why don't we do our first question? Who's reading? I guess I'll read it.
Okay.
Okay. So, how do I apply for scholarships, and how many can I apply to? So, for scholarships and stuff like that, it really depends on what you're talking about. You can have the FAFSA, which is basically the all-inclusive, sort of government aid stuff. That one works based off of, your financial income and your marital status and backgrounds between, like, family members and stuff. So it has a lot of different variables, but essentially the FAFSA it's like a scholarship that bases its scholarshipiness off of your needs, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's what I have, and it really makes a lot of things easier. I don't have to pay for anything at the bookstore because FAFSA will cover all of it, which is so totally awesome because it just helps you get along easier, basically. And if you're not the most financially stable, then it's really helpful to have that to even go to college in the first place, because I know it can be expensive.
Yeah, and then so if I'm getting this right, the funds start off in your student account, and then they'll eventually give it back to you as financial reimbursement. So you can either, buy stuff for the college and just keep all your money in the college and use it all there, or you can wait a little bit and then it'll get back to you in the form of a check or a direct deposit to your bank account, and you can just kind of use it for, whatever you need for college stuff. For example, you can buy like laptops or school supplies, just depending on, what you feel like buying. But once again, the bookstore has some good stuff, so I'd recommend checking there.
Yeah.
And then for other scholarships, there are a lot of different scholarship opportunities that you can look for. If you have a counselor, I'd recommend talking to them because they have a lot of experience dealing with this stuff. So you can go on different websites, like, I'm pretty sure there are some websites completely dedicated to finding scholarships. So that's nice. Like, for example, veterans have certain scholarships that are available to them, sorry. And then you can get scholarships for essays if you're a first-time student or a first-generation student. So yeah, it's really worth looking into.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to our next question. The next question will be when and how to buy your textbooks. So basically, I like that we got this question next, because we were just talking about the bookstore. Yeah. It's actually really easy to go and get your books. All you have to do is just go up to the ladies in the bookstore and have your student ID ready, obviously, and you say, can you check for me what books I need for my classes? And they can go in their computer and look, and then they'll go and get them. And you either have to pay or FAFSA will cover it.
Yeah. Pro tip for the bookstore too, especially when classes are just starting up again, you'll want to try to get there early if possible because the lines can be long. I think I waited like 45 minutes for the first book line.
Yeah, it's definitely a long wait.
Yeah, so make sure you get there early and you have everything you need to get your books. So if you forget your student ID, don't do that.
Oh, and another thing that I just thought of because we're talking about it, I remember when I was first starting out at the college, I didn't really know how to get my ID, and it's actually really simple, so I guess we'll throw this in there too because
Yeah.
it would have been helpful for me to hear. You just go down to admissions, which is in the bottom floor of the building that we're in, the West Classroom Complex, and you bring another form of ID. I think you can just bring your driver's license, or even they let me. I didn't have my driver's license that day. I had it, but I just lost it. So I took my school ID from my high school, and they let me use that. And so you just do that, and then they take a picture and print it out for you, and it's super simple and easy.
Yeah, it takes like maybe 10 minutes
Yeah.
tops, so yeah, pretty
So
good.
that's how you do that, and it's really easy to go and get your books and stuff after you have that.
Yeah. Keep in mind though that you will have to take a photo for your ID. So if you're more proactive than I am, maybe wear something nice instead of my
I just showed up in clothes.
yeah,
but that's
same,
okay.
my ratty T-shirt and hair. So yeah, okay. Anyways, moving on to the next question. How does class scheduling work in college? So this was a question I was kind of confused about when I first started too. Because coming from high school, it's kind of weird. Because you have a very strict schedule, and I wasn't sure if it was sort of like that or if I got more leeway on my classes and stuff. So, definitely something to clarify. You get to schedule your classes for the most part, depending on when they're taking place, or what time they're happening, or what semester they're happening in. For the most part, you just go in, see the guidance counselor that you have, and they will, sort of work with you to figure out the most optimal times for your schedules. So for me, I like to come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays because it just works best for me. And most of the classes that I have align with that. So it's just really convenient, and you can pick the times that, you want to take the class. And yeah, it's just super intuitive.
Yeah, and I like that she's talking about this because I have a question here that kind of ties in with this one. It's who to talk to about registering for classes. And basically, if you don't know the answer to that, all you have to do is go to the Advising and Transfer Center, which is in the clock tower, and you just walk in there and say, hey, I'd like to register for my classes, and they will get your student ID and look up what your major is, and then find the counselor that aligns with that, and then they'll take you back. And usually it's a pretty long wait. I know I've waited like an hour or 2 hours even. So
yeah,
try to get there early if you can, but it's fine if you don't. Just especially if it's in the beginning of the semester and you really need to get your classes scheduled, try to get there early. But another good thing about the counselors is that they really do work with you to find the classes that work best for the schedule that you want to have. So I don't really like getting up early, so I like to have all of my classes start at 10 or later if I can, because it's just easier for me that way. And the counselor that I have has really worked with me to make that a reality for me. And then also, if you want to take classes online and stuff like that, they really do work with you to make that a possibility too.
Yeah, and then heads up too, for classes that aren't in your major, you might have to pay a little extra out of pocket, which isn't a huge deal if you have, some leftover scholarship money, but I tried to take a course that wasn't in my, degree, and it cost around $200. So it's just something to keep in mind if you want to try to do some sort of extracurricular, or if you're just interested in another field to study. But yeah, you could probably figure something out with the financial aid office. They're pretty accommodating.
Yeah.
Oh, and then little known fact about the college also has a branch down in Kirtland. So if you need to take classes over there,
They also have one down in Aztec. Yeah, I've taken ones in Aztec. So
fun.
If you have trouble commuting, I guess, to Farmington, then there's other options in the area. And then they also have classes online. So you can find something that works the best for you.
Yeah. So it's pretty convenient. Just talk to your counselor, and they'll get you set up. Sorry.
Yeah. So moving on.
Oh, sorry. It's my question. Okay. What are the first couple of weeks like? Well, the first couple of weeks, I mean, they're a little daunting, I guess. They're not too bad workload-wise, God. But they can be a little confusing, especially if you're a first-time college goer.
Yeah.
I remember navigating the college at first was kind of weird.
Definitely is a challenge because it is big, and obviously it's not as big as universities and stuff like that, but it's really just good to like find a map. I know they gave me a map when I was like first signing up for my classes and stuff. So use the map if you have one, like know the room numbers, know the building that you're going to, and don't be afraid to ask someone in the hallway for help if you need it.
Yeah. What I did actually was during my first couple of weeks of college, I would just kind of walk around the buildings. So I would recommend it as a strategy because you find a bunch of weird hidden nooks and crannies that not a lot of people go into, and you can sort of utilize those for, studying, or maybe there's a cool vending machine hidden somewhere, or a private bathroom. That's always nice.
Yeah. So. And that is a good thing because there really is a lot of just like little lounge areas around the whole college that you can go, and if you need a quiet place to study, though, you can always just come to the college and find a place to sit and do your work if you need that.
Yeah. So, and then class-wise, the first week of college, once again, not too workload intensive. I mean, they try to sort of ease you in, but I mean, it's no like cakewalk. I mean, you still do get work, and they do expect you to do stuff, but it's, sort of beginner level college things.
It's not that hard. And also, if you're nervous at first, like even just getting out of your car and walking to your class, the first days of college, like the first week, is called syllabus week, because that's literally all it is. They just go over the syllabus. They'll do the thing that everyone expects it to happen the first week of school, where they're like, tell us your favorite color and your name and one interesting fact about yourself. You know what I mean? So it's really just like high school in that manner, where it seems very daunting to walk into this new experience, but once you're there, it's not that bad.
Yeah, just remember, also, if you're nervous, everyone is just as confused as you are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Everyone is just figuring it out at the same time you are. Yeah. And like I said, don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. I know I've had to just ask random people in the hallway for help before, and everyone's really nice when you ask for help. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just super nice experience for the most part. So don't be too nervous about the first weeks. So yeah. Okay, next question.
Yeah, and so this question ties into your question again.
Fun.
How long to adjust to college life? And honestly, I think once you actually just start doing it, because sometimes the first step is the hardest step to take. Once you just get out the door and do it, it's not that hard. And I feel like you really click into place and just, I don't know, figure it out as you go. And honestly, you'll find that it's not as hard as it seems at first.
Yeah, I mean, you'll figure out your classes, you'll make friends, and, talk to your professors more. Once you sort of get into the swing of things, you'll find that it's really not all that different from, just like a job almost, which is kind of weird. Like, kind of a weird way to put it.
But it is true. It's just kind of a routine that you develop. But yeah, like we've been saying, it's just really not that hard. And like I already mentioned, the first step is always the hardest. And honestly, I feel like within the first month, you'll have it down after that. It's really not that hard.
Yeah. Okay. So for our next question, are meals free or do I still have to pay?
Oh, what a good question.
Yeah. So for high schoolers especially, meal plans are kind of weird because you have to pay for some meals and then some meals you don't, and it really just depends on the school you go to, I guess. So it's kind of like the same here, I guess. You do have to pay for food on campus, but most of the food options are pretty affordable. I think the most I've ever paid for anything at the cafeteria is like $10.
Yeah.
So
and that's if you stack your plate, basically.
Yeah. Once again, it's pretty affordable. So it's like slightly less than I'd say fast food. I mean, like if you get an order at Chick-fil-A, it's like $12, so $10, too less. It's pretty good.
And they usually have pretty healthy options. Like you can get a salad. That's what I always get because I like the salad bar.
Yeah.
They have like hamburgers that you can get. They have grilled cheeses. I'm pretty sure they always have some pizza.
Wings and stuff. Not wings. Sorry. Chicken strips.
Yeah, and like they usually have like just an entree, like it'll be like Chinese food or spaghetti or just things like that. They have fried chicken sometimes, so they always have an option. So if you're ever feeling hungry and you want a little more affordable of an option, come down to the Mary's Kitchen.
Yeah, and sometimes if you get really, really lucky, you'll find the ice cream machine or the waffle maker working.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, and another thing, it doesn't always just have to be food items. You can also, get like snacks and stuff. They have a little sort of,
What's the word, like a deli
yeah,
maybe?
just not like a deli, but
Or
it's
not
kind
a
of like a
deli,
little
like
store in the front of the store.
where you can get chips and drinks
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
So that's always good. And then we also have the Food for Thought program at the college, which organizes a bunch of sort of, I guess, food activities is a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you like college is already stressful as is, and their goal is basically to make like food not a part of those worries, because no one should have to worry about whether or not they eat in a day. So they'll always have like little stations around campus where they have apples or oranges or little snacks, or in the morning sometimes they'll have burritos or just things like that where you can go and get some food if you need it.
Yeah, I think they also do sort of it's like a monthly activity thing where they'll do cultural foods or, just kind of like a potluck, I guess,
Yeah.
almost. I don't know exactly where they hold them, but they send out flyers, and you can always check those flyers, and I think it just changes from week to week.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can always find more information about that on the website probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a really cool thing that they do. And I also know that there's meal plans at the college
Oh,
too,
yes, yeah.
for if you commute a long day and you don't really want to have to worry about food outside of that, you can always use the meal plans to buy food. And I think it's you get a card and you can swipe it or things like that. So whatever you would expect a college meal plan to be, it is the same here.
Yeah, especially if money's kind of tight for you, the meal plan is always a good option, and I think they can work with you on pricing and stuff, so it can range from free to discounted, so yeah, pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Okay, so moving on, the next question we have is, can I drop a class? And I actually really am glad that this question popped up, because I've had to do this personally. I had a class my first semester that just the style of teaching of the teacher was not working for me, and honestly, everyone would tell you this when you have to make the decision to do that. I'm not saying you have to drop your class, and you should always try to put in the work necessary to just get the class done. But if you need to drop the class, it's way better to do that than to have an F on your transcript.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure having an F on the transcript slightly affects the FAFSA.
Yeah.
So try not to fail any classes if you can. If you do, it's not like a huge, huge deal, but it just doesn't reflect as well to, some people who would be doing, it's called scholarships and stuff.
Yeah. And honestly, there is no shame in dropping a class. I know it's a bummer because you just want to push through it and get it done. But if you need to drop a class, there's no shame in it. And it's, like I said, it's way better to take the O, I think, on your transcript than the F that you get from failing the class.
And to always make sure to check the syllabus for your classes too, with grading information and when the drop week is.
And late policies, especially if find out the policies that your teachers have, because that will be really helpful to you just in general.
Yeah, sometimes, if you're me especially, you actually can go back and do late work for, some assignments that you might have missed, so you don't have to drop the class. So, yeah, looking into that syllabus is always something you should do, even if it's kind of boring.
And we've talked about this before in past episodes, but there are resources available on campus if you find yourself especially struggling with something. There's tutors that they have in all different subjects. I'm pretty sure you can find help to write your essay. You can find help on your math work. Yeah. There is help available if you need it. And don't be afraid to ask for it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone needs help eventually on, campus, so just getting ahead of it and, not being too nervous about it is definitely something to do if you need some. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, my question. What kind of amenities does the college offer, and how can I utilize them?
Oh, so this is cool because we were just kind of talking about that.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, they have a tutoring center. We were just talking about the Food for Thought program, so we already covered for 2 of those. They have a gym that you can go to if you are a college student and you want to go work out. It's free for I think if you have a certain amount of classes. I think it's only
I'm not sure.
I think it's based off credits actually, so I think even 1 or 2 classes you can still go and work out.
Yeah, essentially as long as you're a student at the college, you should be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's either free or discounted depending on, the type of gear you're using, if you're using any gear. And gym is kind of like an understatement at the college, actually. We have a whole performance center, so we have a climbing wall, We have an indoor track. We have some outdoor equipment too. So, you
Yeah,
know,
frisbee golf course. I'm
yeah.
pretty sure there's a field where you can go and play soccer. So there's things that you can do to stay active, especially if you just want things to fill your days, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to work out, especially if you're like, sitting down in your classes all day like
Yeah.
me. So if you, don't feel like being slumped over a desk all the time, you can, sort of work some of your energy out.
Yeah. And so
yeah.
we've already talked about how there's food available on campus, there's learning help available on campus, there's a library if you ever need a quiet place to think or to study.
Yeah.
There's printers available on campus if you don't have that at your house and you need to print something out. There's a lot of different things around campus that can help you if you need the help. I'm pretty sure any question you have, someone's going to answer it for you, and there's probably an option on campus that will help you.
Yeah, and then some more obscure stuff too. Like we have the Big Ideas Makerspace, which is it's essentially just you go there, and if you have a weird creative project that needs some very specific equipment, you can sort of ask them, and they provide lessons and tutorials, and they'll help you make whatever you need. So that's pretty cool. And also we have student housing, so that too just opened up a couple of years ago, I think, maybe like 5 years ago now. I'm not
Neither of
entirely
us,
sure.
neither of us use it because we live near enough to the college to travel every day.
Yeah.
But if you need that option, it's available.
So that's always a good thing to have.
So the last question that we have is, how do I find events happening on campus? And I actually am the pro at this because this is a part of my job.
Yeah.
If you just go to Google and look up SJC calendar, it'll pop up with a calendar link to where you can just find things happening on campus. I know they've had like things like a little Halloween event. They have the balloon glow in the fall and things like that.
Yeah, Luminaria is in the winter too.
Oh yeah.
So that was pretty
And
fun.
then Rush, like we've talked about, they have just little like career fairs and stuff to where you can go around and talk to people.
Yeah. Food for thought too. Like I was mentioning
like
earlier, those
burritos
potlucks.
in the morning and
burritos.
stuff.
They do like donuts and resume readings or something
Yeah,
like that. I don't remember
like
the name.
little seminars if you have any questions or if you want to learn. I know they've done ones about like the dangers of a drug or like things like that. So if you are interested in participating more with your college community, it's definitely very easy to find out things that are happening. And also, they send out flyers quite frequently to events that are happening. So if you ever want to participate, it's just go in your email, honestly, and you can find something to do.
But yeah, super handy to check the calendar just for any events you might have missed. So yeah.
Okay, so that pretty much wraps up all the questions that we have for today. And we hope that even though our advice may be a little bit amateur because this is only we're about to start our second year of college, we hope that it's helpful to you and can help you squash down some anxieties you have about starting college. And we hope that you have an amazing year.
Yeah, it was nice to, sort of answer some of these questions because I know when we started off, we had some anxieties about these things. So it's nice to know that we weren't the only two people, like, worrying about this stuff. But hopefully it helps, like you said, and we'll see you on another episode of
Campus Chronicles. Have a good day.